Good evening, everybody. Today I'm making my, guess kind of my last video slash blog reflection entry for my digital humanities class, talking about using technology in the classroom. Tonight I'm going to talk mostly about one particular project that research project I undertook this semester involving the smartboard. So I think it just kind of maybe encapsulates, I think, generally what's been going on with me and technology. So I had this project where I was basically looking at how can the smartboard enhance student engagement. I picked that because I just happened to have one in my classroom. I thought it would be an interesting thing to look at and see how that worked out. It would be something that would be very easy to just kind of be right there. As far as kind of things I did with the smartboard, I had a variety of things I marked up on the smartboard in different ways: maps, images, even different kinds of text. I thought this could help visual learners stay focused with the lesson, because if they're more focused on the visuals than what I'm saying, and if I can kind of annotate visuals to kind of keep up with what I'm kind of saying or in the classroom, then I think that would help them. I also did some times where I would have student volunteers fill out charts or things like that on the smartboard to see how that affected student engagement and class discussions. I was also able to use that to post to our fall sharing site for students who are absent. That was another interesting advantage that I found. Finally, I also developed this group sharing activity using the frame where basically groups would divide up between the class the information they need to find, and they would each take turns writing on the smartboard what information they found. I found that to be a pretty effective use. Going back to early this semester or late last semester, I don't remember exactly, I never really thought much of the smartboards. My first experience was at work, over at the Squire Student Center, trying to get one to work, and we spent a whole day basically trying to get something that was supposed to be plug and play, easy to go to work, and we were never actually successful. So that right off the board made me very skeptical of the smartboard. I saw some similar instances after junior tech in the School of Education when we were actually having our first kind of lesson on smartboard use. It didn't work at all. Felt very sorry for the guy who was trying to lead that because the technology wasn't cooperating with him at all, and it was terribly ironic. Similar, not too great experiences with the smartboard. My own fall placement, I didn't have a whole lot of success just getting the thing to work. It's very interesting coming in the spring in a situation where the smartboard, it was a totally install deal. It's not like hooking up a laptop or anything. It's installed and it always stays the same. It's always there. And I found that it worked very well. There were very few times that it didn't work the way I wanted it to. And the times I found that it didn't work the way I wanted it to, it was something where it was pretty easy to adjust, and it wasn't really a lesson killer. And so I was just very interested to see how different the smartboard and its potential can be when you're actually seeing one that actually works. Of course, you never know what kind of situation you're going to wind up in, and whether or not you have one that works isn't always entirely in your hands. But that was just something really interesting. I hadn't commented on any other stuff I did with this project yet about that, and that's one aspect of it that I found very interesting, just seeing the difference between it not working and it working, and seeing it kind of the potential that's actually there when you can't actually get it to work. That was interesting. Looking at the different types of engagements, it was very interesting. I was pretty skeptical going in about how much potential the smartboard really had, but as I went through this project and just kept these daily logs, I found more and more small little uses for it. I found that I was using the little smartboard pen every day pretty much to mark up a map or to underline parts of a PowerPoint slide that students need to focus on, all kinds of things. So, there's so many little uses that I found helpful. The only real few little negatives with it, like it kept me kind of stuck in one part of the classroom, and also kind of kept you looking more at the smartboard less than the students. So I felt that that could kind of do the opposite of what I was looking for by reducing engagement. But that was one of those things I was able to see that as I actually worked with it, that once I was aware that those were potential areas where SmartBoard could be problematic, once I knew to look for that, I was actually able to train myself, I think, pretty well to avoid having those problems. So that was something that teachers need to be aware of, but something that, if once you're aware of it, is something that you can overcome. Doing the class volunteer thing didn't go like I would have hoped it to. Students would always comment on that person's writing. That person will always be reluctant to be kind of looking to you and see what they need to be writing down. And in a way, I think it kind of took away from the class and the engagement because you're stopping to do all this, making sure everything's right there. I always think that using student volunteers to write enhanced the engagement in the classroom. Maybe for those students who volunteer, and it seemed to be usually the same couple of students who would volunteer. There was a couple that were kind of interested in it. Maybe it was more engaging for them, but maybe not the entire class. I think what I try to do in the future is to try to do it a bit more systematically and have, like I've seen in other classrooms, where teachers will have roles students are assigned to. Like they'll write on the board, okay, today this student is responsible for passing out student journals and getting student supplies and stuff like that. I think if we had something systematic there, SmartBoard, that students would kind of get used to it, and the little distractions of somebody misspelling a word on the board wouldn't be as big of a deal. The last major thing that I used SmartBoard for, the group sharing thing, was something that I was really happy about, the ability of technology to really enhance something. I tried this group sharing thing before, so I just like the idea of students finding information for themselves and then sharing it with their classmates. I think it's kind of an efficient way to get things done because students aren't looking up all the information for themselves. They still kind of have that ownership of it's not just hearing it from the teacher. But I found when I just tried to do that orally that students were reluctant to say what they found and the classmates were reluctant to listen to them. And I found that it just wasn't that effective. But when I used it on the SmartBoard instead of having students say what they found, have them write on the SmartBoard, I found it was a lot more effective because students that wouldn't listen to what other students had to say would write down something they saw on the SmartBoard. Then once they're kind of focused on the screen, they're writing it down. It's very easy then for you to kind of capture their attention and talk to them and get them thinking more critically about what's on that SmartBoard. So that was one instance where I really found that the SmartBoard really enhanced student learning. Just looking overall at my approach, my thoughts on technology. Overall, I think my thoughts on the SmartBoard definitely improved after doing this research project. I found that a lot of the potential problems of the SmartBoard, I thought of ways that to make those not problems, and I saw a lot more potential that I never would have thought was there. I just found it to be very useful and a really good tool kind of for promoting student engagement. Generally, my approach with technology, I think it's always kind of been the same. I have the approach of technology as a tool, and like any tool, you need to use it properly for the right goals. You can't just use it haphazardly. I don't think my notion in that way has changed at all, and that continues to be how I approach technology. I do think I've seen, really looking at, frankly, most of the technology I've used this semester, however, that when it comes to tools, there are lots of different kinds of tools, and sometimes getting students engaged is one very important tool of technology. Overall, I've had a few different uses for technology this semester. Looking back, I kind of think, well, I think in my next classroom, I would like to try to find even more uses for technology, because I see a lot of potential for it in different ways. As long as it fits into the goals, I think at this point, I'm growing quite a bit over the year, just in forming goals and objectives that are connected, that are meaningful, but also connected to standards. So I think once you master that goal aspect, then the use of technology becomes a lot easier, because it all flows from the goals and from what you want your students to achieve. So I look forward to using technology again in the future and kind of taking my very practical approach and implementing it in meaningful ways. And have a good day.